In the heart of Enugu State, inside the University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, UNEC, staff quarters, a mathematics lecturer named Dr. Chukwudi Okorie was about to learn that some equations have no solution, especially when you try to add a second variable to a marriage that barely solved for one. His wife, Ifunanya, had no idea that the woman who just moved into Block C, Room 7, was not there for academic reasons. She was there to collect what she believed was rightfully hers, her lover's full attention, his name, and if possible, his entire future. But what neither the lecturer nor his ambitious side lover knew was that Ifunanya was not the kind of woman who fought with noise. She fought with silence, strategy, and what the Igbo people call ikenwa injuru nobi, the quiet, terrifying strength of a woman who has decided that enough is enough. Before we continue with what happened next, if you are finding this story compelling, consider subscribing. We post new African stories every week, and your support allows us to keep bringing you these deeply human stories. Now, back to the story. The year was 2018, and the UNEC staff quarters was a world of its own. Lecturers lived side by side with colleagues. Everybody knew everybody's business, and secrets died faster than roasted corn in Enugu heat. Every morning, the smell of akara and fried plantain mixed with the sound of generators coughing to life. And every evening, academics argued about Chinua Achebe and Wole Soyinka while drinking cold star beer under mango trees. Dr. Okorie, Doc, as some colleagues called him, though he was only a senior lecturer, lived in Block A, Flat 3, with Ifunanya and their two children, Chinedu, 12, already too sharp for his own good, and Adaze, 9, who asked questions like a lawyer in training. Doc was 43, tall and slim like an Iroko tree that had been denied rain. He wore thick glasses that made him look permanently confused and carried himself with a seriousness that made students afraid to breathe loudly in his calculus class. He wasn't naturally wicked. He was just a man who believed that intelligence excused him from basic decency. Ifunanya was 38. She taught English literature at a private secondary school in Enugu metropolis and ran her home like a small company. She tied her wrappers with authority, plaited her hair neatly, and spoke in proverbs that made even elders nod. Their marriage had lasted 15 years, but it had aged like a generator without servicing. Doc forgot anniversaries, Ifunanya forgot to pretend she cared. Yet, they stayed together because they believed marriage was not about happiness alone. It was about responsibility, endurance, and covenant. Trouble entered their home like an uninvited masquerade. For almost 2 years, Doc had been having an affair with a 29-year-old bank worker named Amara, who worked in Enugu metropolis. She wore Brazilian hair that cost more than a lecturer's monthly salary, painted her nails in colors with French names, and posted motivational quotes on Instagram that contradicted her actual life choices. She called Doc my king, and Doc, starved of attention, convinced himself that Amara saw something in him his wife had stopped noticing. The problem began when Amara discovered that Doc lived inside the UNEC staff quarters and not in a private estate as he had claimed. Her heart didn't break, it recalculated. 2 weeks later, she moved into Block C, Room 7, after finding a room advertised and paying 6 months' rent up front. Nobody knew that a ticking time bomb in high heels had just joined the compound. 5 days later, early Monday morning, Ifunanya was frying akara while the children got ready for school. Doc stepped out towards his old Camry when he heard a voice that froze his blood. "Good morning, my king." He turned. Amara stood outside Block C in a silk nightgown, smiling. "What are you doing here?" he whispered. "I moved in last week," she said. "Now we can see each other every day." Ifunanya stepped out, wiped her hands on her wrapper, and asked calmly, "Who is that?" Doc stammered something about a new tenant. Ifunaya's eyes moved from him to Amara and back. She said nothing and went inside. The neighbors began to whisper. Amara began Operation Close Proximity, timing her movements to meet Doc's. The scandal escalated when she brought jollof rice, fried chicken and moi moi to Doc's door. Ifunaya refused the food with calm authority. The compound noticed. Soon, the children noticed too. One evening, Adaze announced that the auntie in Block C gave her biscuits and said Daddy would come to her room. Adaze even mentioned that Daddy's picture was Amara's phone wallpaper. That night, Ifunaya gave Doc 1 week to end the affair or she would end it publicly. 2 nights later, she checked his phone and found messages promising marriage, house plans labeled our dream home, and the line that broke her heart. She's just temporary. I'm only managing her because of the children. Ifunaya looked at herself in the mirror and chose quiet war. On Environmental Sanitation Day, the entire quarters gathered to sweep gutters and gossip. Amara positioned herself where Doc would see her. A young elderly neighbor joked loudly about giving Doc's girlfriend a bigger broom. Amara, emboldened, announced she would become the second Mrs. Okorie by December. The compound fell silent. Ifunaya walked to the center with a brown envelope and held up printed screenshots of Doc's messages. She revealed that Amara was not special. There were other women too. The compound erupted. Amara demanded the truth from Doc. He couldn't speak. Truth locked his jaw. That evening, the landlady told Amara to vacate the quarters. 3 days later, Amara left quietly, her ambition defeated by daylight. Doc, humiliated, began counseling with Ifunaya at a family therapy center in Enugu. The therapist told him plainly that trust is rebuilt with action, not promises. For months, Doc changed. No secret friendships, coming home early, helping with chores, showing up for his children, apologizing without excuses. Ifunaya chose forgiveness not because he deserved it, but because she deserved peace. One evening, watching their children play, Doc asked why she didn't leave. Ifunaya said, leaving would have been easy. Staying and demanding better was harder. I don't run from hard things. The compound noticed the change. An elder remarked that when a woman fights with wisdom instead of noise, even a stubborn man bows. In Igbo wisdom, morning is not evening. Clarity must replace confusion. Loyalty is not negotiable. You cannot force yourself into another person's destiny. And a woman who knows her worth does not need to scream. She stands firm until respect returns. Thank you for watching this story from Enugu. If this story challenged you, share it with someone who needs the lesson. Tell us where you are watching from and what this story taught you about marriage and respect. Subscribe for more African folktales filled with wisdom, drama, and truth about human nature. Until the next story, choose truth over temporary pleasure. Kaudi.